So going back to the references in regards to blind spot and the correlations between the actress Jamie Alexander character on Blind Spot, the premise of the show, and certain correlations, the irony of Jamie Alexander and the aspects of the Jade Wolf Coven I was involved with, and Jamie, also known as Dori, having been the one who founded that particular coven in Seguin that I was a satellite sister of. And although I didn't do the full aspect, I actually didn't even do the initiation ritual, irony, because, well, it just didn't work out. I have made the joke in reference to being the Antichrist or Antichristine because of the over-dramatic stuff that Christine had done and caused throughout all those times. So, but you can look up prior videos on my YouTube channel in reference to that. So, continuing on with Season 1, Episode 6, irony, I can still fit into children's clothing. This is a size 16. Not a weird little coinky dink. So the title of that episode is Seed Your Soul, Cloud Our Eyes. The FBI shuts down a hacker app which can locate government vehicles. Jane has an erotic dream about someone who she thinks is Weller, so she tries to keep her distance from him. However, the man in her dreams is not Weller and is observing her house at night. Zapata ultimately decides to pay her gambling debts by giving the money she got from Carter to her bookie. She tells him that she's out and doesn't want to bet anymore. Sarah tells Bill that Taylor is alive. I didn't know about hacking stuff until recently, and that would mean certain other aspects. I wrote a few books, and then there's the Paroxysm of the Lotus, which discusses certain lifestyle stuff for adults. And it'd be, as far as somebody watching me when I'm in my apartment at night, or at all, it'd be kind of weird if it's the cutie patootie marine that I had. I think it's the cutie patootie marine in reference to my dream, in regards to my wings and the makeup bag that my e-cigarette that I had kind of did something. Ironically, the red, white, and blue one, and by technicalities, and is not a color. I came up with this joke, so before I continue on, I came up with this joke when I was a child. And there were a group of guys that I was hanging out with, and I was like, hey. And they were like, what? And I was like, I got a joke. And they were like, okay, because they were all telling jokes. And I was like, okay, so what are the colors of the American flag? And they looked at me and they're like, Susan, duh, red, white, and blue. And I was like, nope. Red, white, blue are the colors. And is not a color. And they just kind of looked at me and they're like, really, that's your joke? Well, yes. Because and is not a color, and then irony, I had to relearn colors after waking up from a coma. Palm Sunday in 2000. So, that being said, episode 1, season 1, episode 7, sent on tour, trust no one. When questioned by Weller about the file, Mayfair claims Saul Guerrero, or Lou Diamond Phillips, Irene, was an informant and she was his handler, but then he started to work against the FBI, which is the reason why the file is redacted. Irony in certain regards when it comes to Philip Armstead. David wants to move in with Patterson, and he helps her follow a clue to the Brooklyn Historical Society, but Mayfair finds out about David and reprimands Patterson for giving a civilian access to classified information. Afraid, she breaks up with David. The team follows one of Jane's tattoos to a secessionist town in Michigan, where they arrest Guerrero. After fighting the town's militia with the help of clues from multiple other tattoos, they bring him into the FBI. When Weller notices that Mayfair has never met Guerrero before, she tells him about Operation Daylight. Irony. In that regard, there was a guy I met who's from Brooklyn, and then there's David. There's a few Davids I've met over the years. And the Medal of Honor Historical Society in reference to my Medal of Honor art project, and then again, the tattoo stuff. They're all in specific locations for specific purposes. So, Season 1, Episode 8, Persecute Envoys Suspect Everyone. 5 years ago, Bethany Mayfair met with Tom Carter, Deputy White House Political Director Sophia Varma, and the White House Chief of Staff, Davenport. Now Mayfair tells Weller about all of the valuable domestic intel the NSA collected illegally and that she was given orders to make intelligence actionable. She used Saul Guerrero to do that, and they made him a front as a CI, which let them put dangerous people behind bars. Weller rails at her about all her lies, that she has the case, and why it is tattooed on Jane's body. Technically in, but for the show, I'm sure it's painted on, but in for my skin. Mayfair swears she knows nothing more, but her relationship with Weller may be beyond repair. A flashback shows how Sophia, who was her lover, committed suicide. Meanwhile, the 2 NYPD cops are found shot after being connected to the scene of a shooting of a young black teen that resulted in riots. The unit's numbered logo matches a tattoo on Jane's body. Their investigation reveals a dirty secret of the 65th Precinct. Carter demands Zapata keep delivering more information about Jane, which she is reluctant to give. Well, in certain regards, there's no denying the aspects of, and I don't deny that after waking up from my coma and being in medical hold unit, I did attempt to commit suicide several times because the pain was so excruciating. I had never felt pain like that before. I had dealt with emotional traumas. I had dealt with being beaten. I had dealt with surviving a multitude of things. But the headaches and the migraines, that was so much, and then not being able to understand what was going on in the military and not being able to go forward and what my idea was as far as knowing that something was going to occur and wanting to assist preventing the fullest problems as best as I possibly could. I didn't join the army or the military in general because of a want in regards to using the benefits in regards to college. I knew at some point I'd have to get a degree in that to progress to command level. However, my intentions were, they were pure. I didn't deny the dreams I had. And when the 93 attack had only been part of it, of the dream that I had, I already knew I needed to join the military. That just reinforced it. I already knew that I was going to go into the armed forces well before the 93 attack. And as much as I was trying to brush up on historical stuff and as many questions as I would ask military and law enforcement guys, I knew that I wanted to be in the military. And because of the different discussions I had with the various people, I knew I did not want to go in the officer realm. Not in any offense, it was just I didn't want to, irony, deal with politics. A little bit of irony there now at this point. And not an offense towards politicians, but I didn't want to have to worry about sugarcoating stuff. I wanted to make sure that no matter what I did, I was able to make sure that the guys, whatever level they were at, whether E1 or O10 or 11, that they were able to be squared away. And, then when the 93, and I admit the first time I decided that I was going into the military was not when, by technicalities, the 93 attack, that was the final seal on that. But the first time I had gone to, where was it? Old Scots Burial Ground, and seeing the different markers and the individuals, spirits that had lingered at that point in time, and then going back to Old Tenet Church and walking to where General George Washington's private latrine is, I did not have any doubt that I was going into the military. However, when the 93 attacks occurred, and there was the points of which didn't happen in full, I knew that meant there was more to come, and I didn't want to not be able to assist preventing the furthest damage. I wanted to be able to help and prevent any further problems and help prevent any further damage. And when I went to the recruiter, and that was obviously many years later, I had spoken with whoever I had spoken with, and whenever I was working at IHOP as a waitress, the law enforcement guys, that it upset some of the other waitresses because they would actually ask to be in my section because they knew that they'd never have to worry about coffee. I always made sure and they also knew that I wasn't going to interrupt their conversation, discussion stuff. I'd just go up with the pot of coffee or the carafe of coffee, and here you guys go. Check on you in a little bit. So it actually upset quite a few of the waitresses when I would be working. And then when I got tips, then they got even more mad. So, but apparently, even though today is the 9th of April, 2020, And the neighbors in 736 are still having people go over to their apartment and visit them. But I guess by technicalities it is before curfew. So, well, whatever. But anyway, going on to episode 9 of season 1, Authentic Flirt, Lift the Curtain is the title. Patterson decodes another tattoo that leads to a website criminals use to discuss their crimes. Irony in reference to my Medal of Honor art project. And I had a teacher back in New Jersey. Her name was Miss Patterson. And anytime I remembered this, I was so happy when I remembered it. She had this thing where if someone brought in birthday stuff, she had to have 2. One for her left side and one for her right side to even things out. And it always made me giggle. They are led to a location and a shootout with an assassin couple ensues, which leads to the couple's death. Allison Knight, a U.S. Marshal, and Weller's ex-girlfriend explains there was a hack at WITSEC, or Witness Security Program, and the assassin couple were supposed to purchase the hit list. Weller and Jane go undercover as the assassin couple to get the list and arrest the man selling it. Jane and Weller are transported to the Sellers Island under high security, and the team have to locate where Jane and Weller have been taken. Mayfair and Carter argue about Guerrero, with Carter wanting to kill him and Mayfair plotting to backdate paperwork so he can't pin daylight on them. However, Carter orders a janitor to kill Guerrero. Zapata is pressured by Carter to place a bug in Jane's safe house, but she doesn't. Patterson meets with her ex-boyfriend David, who wants to reunite, but she wants to stay apart due to her high-level job. Later, David notices a woman looking through a book of codes he and Patterson had found together and follows the woman. After following the woman into an alley, she kills him. And so, well, if individuals, because there was the time where I met with Rebecca Schrader and gave her a copy of Finding a Silver Lining as well as Finding the Silver Lining, and if she didn't know that I had already mailed off the books to multiple individuals, well, then that would be able to be proven, not forgetting, the fact I sent the books later to my biological family, and if they attempted to redo the books, they probably did not realize I had already sent out hundreds of copies by then. Hundreds. Not forgetting the ones that I had thrown out of the car in Washington State because it was throwing a temper tantrum because of the amount of pain I was in. And so, there's that. And I will end on Season 1, Episode 10, Evil Handmade Instrument, and Unveil the Mastermind. Mayfair meets with Carter, and he tells her to get rid of Jane since she is the last link to daylight. Zapata, and you could make a joke in reference to Cowboys Dance Hall and being taken to Washington State. Zapata gets a last chance from Carter to bug Jane's apartment. Following info from the book with a partial print, the team discovers a Russian sleeper cell. Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., and those military uniforms. Irony. The team learns that the red-haired woman is one of them, and her mission is to eliminate targets deemed unpatriotic to Russia. They find her and take her down in a heavy fight. Later, Jane ditches her FBI handlers and waits for Weller outside of his apartment, where she kisses him. She is kidnapped by Carter, who waterboards her for information, causing her to remember that he is connected to Orion. The man with the tree tattoo saves Jane, killing Carter, and shows Jane a video revealing that she is the person who orchestrated everything, including her own memory loss. Well, again, going back to I signed the dotted line for the military, but well, realistically, there's also that aspect of Adonai. So, I'm gonna go upload this one. And so again, yes, you see the tattoo. I mean, obviously, in the show Blind Spot, there's far more tattoos, but all of mine are strategically placed to assist my memory stuff and spiritual stuff.